Chapter 11. And it came to pass on the 8th day that Asenath looked up from the floor where she was lying, for she was losing the use of her limbs as a result of her great affliction. Chapter 12. And she stretched her hands out toward the east, and her eyes looked up to Shamayim, and she said, O Yahudah, Elohim of the ages, that didst give to all the breath of life, that didst bring into the light the things unseen, that hast made all things and made visible what was invisible, that has raised up the Shamayim and founded the earth upon the waters, that has fixed the great stones upon the abyss of water, which shall not be submerged, but to the end they do thy will. O Yahudah, my Elohim, to thee will I cry. Hear my supplication, and unto thee will I make confession of my sins, and unto thee will I reveal my transgressions of thy law. I have sinned, O Yahudah, I have sinned. I have transgressed thy law, and acted impiously, and I have spoken things evil before thee. My mouth, O Yahudah, has been defiled by things offered to idols, and by the table of the Elohim of the Mitzri. I have sinned, O Yahudah, before thee. I have sinned and acted impiously, worshiping idols deaf and dumb, and I am not worthy to open my mouth unto thee, wretch that I am. I have sinned, O Yahudah, before thee. I, the daughter of Potiphar, the priest, I, the haughty and arrogant Asenath, to thee, O Yahudah, I present my supplication, and unto thee will I cry. Deliver me from my persecutors, for unto thee have I fled, like a child to his father and his mother. And do thou, O Yahudah, stretch forth thy hands over me, as a father that loves his children and is tenderly affectionate, and snatch me from the hand of my enemy. For lo, the wild primeval lion pursues me, and his children are the Elohim of the Mitzri that I have abandoned and destroyed. And their father, Satan, is trying to devour me. But do thou, O Yahudah, deliver me from his hands, and rescue me from his mouth, lest he snatch me like a wolf and tear me, and cast me into the abyss of fire, and into the tempest of the sea, and let not the great sea monster swallow me. Save me, O Yahudah, deserted as I am, for my father and mother denied me, because I destroyed and shattered their Elohim, and I have no other hope save in thee, O Yahudah, for thou art the father of the orphans, and the champion of the persecuted, and the help of them that are oppressed. For lo, all the Elohim of my father Potiphar are but for a season and uncertain, but the inhabitants of thine inheritance, O Yahudah, are incorruptible and eternal. Chapter 13. Look upon my orphanhood, O Yahudah, For unto thee did I flee, O Yahuwah. Lo, I took off my royal robe, interwoven with gold, and put on a black tunic instead. Lo, I loosed my golden girdle, and girt myself with a rope and sackcloth. Lo, I threw off my diadem from my head, and sprinkled myself with ashes. Lo, the floor of my room, once scattered with stones of different colors and of purple, and besprinkled with myrrh, is now sprinkled with my tears, and scattered with ashes. Lo, Yahweh, from the ashes and from my tears there is as much mud inside my room as there is on a public highway. Lo, Master, my royal dinner and my fatted beasts have I given to the dogs. And lo, for 7 days and 7 nights I have neither eaten bread nor drunk water, and my mouth is dry like a drum, and my tongue like horn, and my lips like a potsherd, and my face is shrunken, and my eyes are failing as a result of my incessant tears. But do thou, O Yahweh, pardon me, for in ignorance did I sin against thee, and uttered calumnies against my master Yoceph. And I did not know, wretch that I am, that he is thy son, O master. For they told me that Yoceph was a shepherd's son from the land of Canaan, and I believed them. But I was wrong, and I despised Yoceph, thine elect one, and I spoke evil of him, not knowing that he is thy son. For what man ever was so handsome, and who else is as wise and strong as Yoceph? But to thee, my master, do I entrust him, for I love him more than mine own soul. Preserve him in the wisdom of thy favor, and give me to him as a servant, so that I may wash his feet and serve him, and be his slave for all the seasons of my life. Chapter 14. And as Asenath finished her confession to Yahweh, lo, the morning star rose in the eastern sky. And Asenath saw it and rejoiced and said, Yahweh Elohim has indeed heard me, for this star is a messenger and herald of the light of the great day. And lo, the Shamayim was torn open near the morning star, and an indescribable light appeared. And Asenath fell on her face upon the ashes, and there came to her a man from Shamayim, and stood at her head, and he called to her, Asenath. And she said, Who called me? For the door of my room is shut, and the tower is high. How then did anyone get into my room? And the man called her a second time, and said, Asenath, Asenath. And she said, Here am I, my master. Tell me who you are. And the man said, I am the commander of Yahweh's house, and chief captain of all the hosts of the Most High. Stand up, and I will speak to you. And she looked up and saw a man like Yoceph in every respect, with a robe and a crown and a royal staff. But his face was like lightning, and his eyes were like the light of the sun, and the hairs of his head like flames of fire, and his hands and feet like iron from the fire. And Asenath looked at him, and she fell on her face at his feet in great fear and trembling. And the man said to her, "Take heart, Asenath, and do not be afraid, but stand up, and I will speak to you." And Asenath got up, and the man said to her, "Take off the black tunic you are wearing, and the sackcloth round your waist, and shake the ashes off your head, and wash your face with water, and put on a new robe that you have never worn before, and tie your bright girdle round your waist, the double girdle of your virginity. And then come back to me, and I will tell you what I have been sent to you to say." And Asenath went into the room where her treasure chests and the finery for her adornment were. And she opened her wardrobe and took out a new fine robe, and she took off her black robe and put on the new and brilliant one. And she untied the rope and the sackcloth round her waist, and she put on the brilliant girdle of her virginity, the brilliant double girdle of her virginity, one girdle round her waist and the other round her breast. And she shook the ashes off her head, and washed her face with pure water, and covered her head with a fine and lovely veil. Chapter 15. And she came back to the man, and when the man saw her, he said to her, "Take now the veil off your head, for today you are a pure virgin, and your head is like a young man's." So she took it off her head, and the man said to her, "Take heart, Asenath, for lo, Yahudah has heard the words of your confession. Take heart, Asenath, your name is written in the book of life, and it will never be blotted out. From today, you will be made new and refashioned and given a new life, and you shall eat the bread of life and drink the cup of immortality, and be anointed with the unction of incorruption. Take heart, Asenath. Lo, Yahudah has given you to Yoceph to be his bride, and he shall be your bridegroom. And you shall no more be called Asenath, but city of refuge shall be your name. For many nations shall take refuge in you, and under your wings shall many peoples find shelter. And within your walls, those who will give their allegiance to Elohim in penitence will find security. For penitence is the Most High's daughter, and she entreats the Most High on your behalf every hour, and on behalf of all who repent. For he is the father of penitence, and she the mother of virgins, and every hour she petitions him for those who repent. For she has prepared a ha-miqlāt bridal chamber for those who love her, and she will look after them forever. And penitence is herself a virgin, very beautiful and pure and chaste and gentle, and Elohim Most High loves her, and all his malachim do her reverence. And lo, I am on my way to Yoceph, and I will talk to him about you, and he will come to you today and see you and rejoice over you, and he shall be your bridegroom. So listen to me, Asenath, and put on your wedding robe, the ancient robe, the first that was stored away in your room, and deck yourself in all your finest jewelry, and adorn yourself as a bride, and be ready to meet him. For lo, he is coming to you today, and he will see you and rejoice. And when the man had finished speaking, Asenath was overjoyed, and she fell at his feet and said to him, Blessed be Yahudah Elohim that sent you out to deliver me from darkness and bring me into light, and blessed be his name forever. Let me speak now, my master. If I have found favor with you, sit down a little on the bed, and I will get a table ready and food for you to eat, and I will bring you good wine of the finest flavor for you to drink, and then you shall go your way. Chapter 16. And the man said to her, Bring me, please, a honeycomb too. And Asenath said, Let me send someone, my master, to my family estate in the country, and I will get you a honeycomb. And the man said to her, Go into your inner room, and you will find a honeycomb there. And Asenath went into her inner room and found a honeycomb lying on the table, and the comb was as white as snow and full of honey, and its smell was like the breath of life. And Asenath took the comb and brought it to him. And the man said to her, Why did you say, There is no honeycomb in my house? And lo, you have brought me this. And Asenath said, My master, I had no honeycomb in my house, but it happened just as you said it did. Did it perchance come out of your mouth? For it smells like myrrh. And the man stretched his hand out and placed it on her head and said, You are blessed, Asenath, for the indescribable things of Elohim have been revealed to you. And blessed too are those who give their allegiance to Yahudah Elohim in penitence, for they shall eat of this comb. The bees of the paradise of delight have made this honey, and the Malachim of Elohim eat of it, and no one who eats of it shall ever die. And the man stretched his right hand out and broke off a piece of the comb and ate it, and he put a piece of it unto Asenath's mouth. And the man stretched his hand out and put his finger on the edge of the comb that faced eastwards, and the path of his finger became like blood. And he stretched out his hand a second time and put his finger on the edge of the comb that faced northwards, and the path of his finger became like blood. And Asenath was standing on the left and watching everything the man was doing. And bees came up from the cells of the comb, and they were white as snow, and their wings were iridescent, purple and blue and gold, and they had golden diadems on their heads and sharp-pointed strings. And all the bees flew in circles around Asenath, from her feet right up to her head, and yet more bees, as big as queens, settled on Asenath's lips. And the man said to the bees, Go, please, to your places. And they all left Asenath and fell to the ground, every one of them, and died. And the man said, Get up now, and go to your place. And they got up and went, every one of them, to the court round Asenath's tower. Chapter 17. And the man said to Asenath, Have you observed this? And she said, Yes, my master, I have observed it all. And the man said, So shall be the words I have spoken to you. And the man touched the comb, and fire went up from the table and burned up the comb. And as it burned, the comb gave out a refreshing fragrance that filled the room. And Asenath said to the man, There are, my master, 7 virgins with me who have been brought up with me and who wait upon me. They were born in the same night as I was, and I love them. Let me call them, so that you can bless them as you have blessed me. And the man said, Call them. And Asenath called them, and the man blessed them and said, Elohim Most High will bless you forever. And the man said to Asenath, Take this table away. And Asenath turned to move the table, and the man vanished out of her sight. And Asenath saw what looked like a chariot of fire being taken up into Shamayim towards the east. And Asenath said, Be merciful, O Yahudah, to thy maidservant, because it was in ignorance that I spoke evil before thee. Chapter 18. And while this was happening, behold, a young man of Yoceph's servants came and said, Lo, Yoceph, the mighty man of Elohim, is coming to you today. And Asenath called her steward and said, Get ready a special dinner for me, because Yoceph, the mighty man of Elohim, is coming to us. And Asenath went into her room and opened her wardrobe, and she took out her finest robe that shone like lightning, and she put it on. And she tied a resplendent royal girdle round her waist, and this girdle was of precious stones. And she put golden bracelets round her hands, and golden boots on her feet, and a costly necklace about her neck. And she put a golden crown upon her head, and in the crown in front were the costliest of stones. And she covered her head with a veil. And she said to her maidservant, Bring me pure water from the spring. And Asenath bent down to the water in the basin on the cockle shell, and her face was like the sun, and her eyes like the rising morning star. Chapter 19. And a little slave came and said to Asenath, Lo, Yoceph is at the gates of our court. And Asenath went down with the 7 virgins to meet him. And when Yoceph saw her, he said to her, Come to me, pure virgin, for I have had good news about you from Shamayim, explaining everything about you. And Yoceph stretched his hands out and embraced Asenath, and Asenath embraced Yoceph, and they greeted each other for a long time, and received new life in their ruach. Chapter 20. And Asenath said to him, Come, my master, come into my house. And she took his right hand and brought him inside her house. And Yoceph sat down on her father Potiphar's seat, and she brought water to wash his feet. And Yoceph said to her, Let one of your virgins come, and let her wash my feet. And Asenath said to him, No, my master, for my hands are your hands, and your feet my feet, and no one else shall wash your feet. And so she had her way and washed his feet. And Yoceph took her by the right hand and kissed it, and Asenath kissed his head. And Asenath's parents came back from their country estate, and they saw Asenath sitting with Yoceph and wearing a wedding robe, and they rejoiced and glorified Elohim, and they ate and drank. And Potiphar said to Yoceph, Tomorrow I will invite the masters and the governors of Mitzrayim, and I will celebrate your wedding, and you shall take Asenath as your wife. And Yoceph said, First, I must tell Pharaoh about Asenath, because he is my father, and he will give me Asenath as my wife himself. And Yoceph stayed that day with Potiphar, and he did not sleep with Asenath, for he said, it is not right for a man who worships Elohim to have intercourse with his wife before their marriage. Chapter 21. And Yoceph got up early in the morning, and he sent away to Pharaoh and told him about Asenath. And Pharaoh sent and called Potiphar and Asenath. And Pharaoh was astonished at her beauty and said, Yahudah will bless you, even the Elohim of Yoceph, who has chosen you to be his bride. For he is the firstborn son of Elohim, and you will be called daughter of the Most High. And Yoceph shall be your bridegroom forever. And Pharaoh took golden crowns and put them on their heads and said, Elohim Most High will bless you and prosper your family forever. And Pharaoh turned them towards each other, and they kissed each other. And Pharaoh celebrated their wedding with a banquet and much merrymaking for 7 days. And he invited all the chief men in the land of Mitzrayim, and he issued a proclamation saying, Any man who does any work during the 7 days of Yoceph and Asenath's wedding shall die. And when the wedding was over and the banquet ended, Yoceph had intercourse with Asenath, and Asenath conceived by Yoceph, and bore Manasseh and his brother Ephraim in Yoceph's house.